Mr. President, Ray McGovern is here to brief you.
More bad news. Yeah, Ray, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. President. Actually, I do have a bit of not bad but sad news. I'm sure your people have made you aware that another young American girl, actually 26, out of the University of Washington, has just been shot by an Israeli sniper right in the back of the head. There she is. Her name is Senor Agi, and this happened Friday. There was a little solidarity
She's
demonstration.
an American Hamas.
Yep. No, she's not a Hamas. She's an
Oh,
American citizen. She was born in Turkey but grew up here in the Seattle area and just recently graduated from the University of Washington. She was with the International Solidarity Movement, which is a group of young people who like to accompany the Palestinians before their homes are demolished or before they're otherwise maltreated. So she was with this group in the West Bank, and they were demonstrating in front of settlers who were taking over their village. And there was some shooting and so forth. And then it calmed down. And then all of a sudden, two more shots, one of which hit her in the back of the head. The There was a journalist from Haaretz there. He was right next to her and saw her die and tried to help her being from being dead. When she was brought to the hospital, she was dead on arrival. So I just mentioned that because it's kind of a sad commentary. I just got from the wire from the wire that dates me, doesn't it? I just saw on the internet the State Department's statement on this, and it makes me sadder still. They've had appeals to an investigation. The UN wanted to have an investigation. The US said, no, no, we're not going to investigate. We're going to let the Israelis investigate this. And the State Department spokesman said, look, uh, we can't acknowledge that she was killed by an Israeli soldier. We have to let the process play out. Now,
well,
when
she's
you
an
leave,
American. Wait, Ray. She's
she's
an
an
American citizen.
she's an American citizen, yeah, just like the journalist Abu Saleh, who was killed in July of 2 years ago, also an American citizen, killed the same way in the West Bank city of Jenin with a shot to the front of her head. In that case,
So that puts
uh,
him in a special category, right? Because I mean, so what? Our State Department, they say they don't they have to treat it different if she's a citizen, our
well,
citizen?
that's
Because
why I said,
that's what we do with the hostage thing. If it's an American that's a
yeah.
hostage. So what am I missing here, Ray? How the hell did this happen? What's going on? That beautiful young woman that they shot her in the back. You know that's the Israelis. How do you know that?
Well, it was the Israeli sharpshooters. Actually, they found a high ground right in the area where there had been demonstration. They started shooting, and that was coming from precisely where they went. Now, the Haaretz journalist was standing right by, so it's not like
Haaretz, that's the Israeli
that's an
paper.
Israeli newspaper. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
long time Israeli, but I mean, what they're kind of more. Uh, they're not with Netanyahu. They're kind of more.
No, they're actually a freer newspaper than we have now in the states. That's another issue. The question is why the State Department is saying
It's an Israeli paper. Israeli
is
paper.
that's right. Yeah, it's
And
out
so,
of
what did they say about that? They say the Israeli. Uh,
well, it was one of their correspondents who was there covering the demonstration, saw the shooting, and then saw the calm, and then was right next to this woman. Her name was a Senor Ag, and she was shot in the back of the head and died instantly. Now,
Let me
uh,
see that picture again, there, Ray.
sure.
Show me
Can
that
you
again.
Max? Can you bring up that picture? Yeah,
Ah,
there she is. Now,
okay.
she made no bones about the fact that she thought the Palestinians should be free, and that, of course, is what motivated her to go over
We
there.
believe that too, Ray. Come on, damn it. We're not anti-Palestinian. We're anti-Hamas. We're not anti-Palestinian. We believe in a two-state solution. Don't
Hmm.
put me in a bad box here. Maybe, maybe obviously Netanyahu doesn't believe in it, and Trump does sure the hell doesn't believe in it. but we believe in that, so we're not anti-Palestinian. I have to keep reminding people. So what the Israelis, do they think she was with Hamas? What was she with them?
No,
Or why
Hamas
would
has
you
not,
why would you kill a beautiful young woman like that? Why?
just to show
It's
who.
upsetting. It's upsetting.
This is
Yeah.
the West Bank now, Mr. President. They're going after Palestinians on the West Bank now, not Hamas. Hamas is
Who's
not in
going
the West
after
Bank.
them? We're not going after. Who's going after them?
The Israelis are with our weaponry. And that's
And then what do they say? They say they admit they killed her.
no. They will say, well, so we'll look into it and they'll investigate it forever. Um, let me add this just to put a perspective on this. This is not the first time this happened. The most egregious evidence of this, or the most egregious incident, was right before the U.S. and the U.K. went into Iraq, attacked Iraq on the 20th, 21st of March 2003. On the 16th of March, Rachel Corrie was a young volunteer with the same group, this International Solidarity Movement. And she was standing in front of a house where she had stayed overnight with a Palestinian family. That house had been scheduled for demolition. And she's standing in front of the house. This Israeli bulldozer comes up and she says, "No, don't come and demolish this house. My friends live here." There she is. I had that picture pulled up by Max. There she is before the Israeli bulldozer. Well, suffice it to say that the bulldozer operator was given orders not only to run her over, but to back over her to make sure that her back was broken. This is what ended up to be the case. Max, could you show the next sorrowful picture, please? Her friends gathered to try to help her. She was beyond help. She died in the hospital when she got to the next step. There are her friends trying to help her. That's where she ended up in that ditch with the bulldozer. So what I'm
Okay, but
saying here,
that's an old picture, right? Old.
yeah, as I mentioned, Mr. President, people have asked me, for example, why I wear this green bracelet, and it's a bracelet given to me by Rachel Corrie's father. I met him in 2005, a year after well, 2 years after all this happened. And he had this bracelet. I said, "What is that?" And he read it. And he said, Rachel Corrie, April 10, 1979, March 16, 2003. 23 years old. He said, "Would you like it, Ray?" I said, "Well, do you have others?" He said, "Yeah, we do. I've been wearing this since that time." Now, why do I wear it? Well, because some of my old classics friends said, "Ray, it used to mean something. Uh, Chivus Romanus sum. I'm a Roman citizen. Remember St. Paul? He wouldn't let anybody deal with him. I appealed to Rome." Well, it used to mean, Chivus Americanus sum used to mean something. No more, at least in Israel. You can play loose, fast and loose with American young women like Rachel Corrie and this new woman who was killed on Friday, and nobody's going to do anything. And the State Department is going to say, "No, the UN is wrong. They're not going to investigate. We're not going to investigate. The Israelis will investigate." And Cindy Curry just now told me, "Yeah, the Israelis don't investigate; they cover up." So this will die a natural death unless somebody like you, Mr. President, says that's enough. We don't want any more young American women volunteers shot in the back of the head.
Well, what does the CIA think? I mean, what is? I can't ask about Netanyahu. He seems to want to kill everybody. Uh, it's very depressing. Let me see that picture again. That not the old history, the latest one.
The first, the one of the
The one that
recently,
just got killed, and
right?
she
Yeah,
wasn't in Gaza. She's in the West Bank.
she's in the West Bank. Yeah, a little
And so,
town where,
what are they doing there? I thought the whole thing was supposed to be Gaza. What are they doing in the West Bank?
well, the
And
Israelis are wreaking havoc in the West Bank right now. They're setting it up just as they set Gaza up for cleansing. I know you don't like the word genocide, so I won't use it. But they're trying
Now,
to.
how we going to get this to? Yeah, I'm so tired of this whole issue. My whole life has been coming up, and how are we going to get a two-state solution? Is these settlers taking over everything? What's this two-state going to be? It's going to be a parking lot. What? I don't get
Well,
it. What's going on? Why? And you say the State Department they condone this? No, they didn't condone it. They say they're waiting for Israel to investigate. But then
yeah, they
don't we
said
have
that
our?
the Israelis will sort this all out. The exact words by the State Department spokesman was that we need the process to play out and the facts to be gathered. Now, when you have a Haaretz reporter standing right next to her when she's shot in the back of the head, I hope at least they interview him. But Cindy Corey's and Craig Corey, her father, their experience is that the Israelis investigate this for years and then they acquit whoever it is who makes the shot. So all I'm saying here is that Netanyahu is feeling that he can do these things in a way where he won't be blamed, he won't even be investigated. Maybe we ought to go to
Tragedy, yeah,
Ukraine.
another tragedy. Go ahead.
Well, a very interesting thing happened over the weekend, Mr. President. The chief of the CIA, Bill Burns, whom you know well, and whom you made a member of your cabinet. In other words, he's making decisions and he's furnishing intelligence to justify those decisions. That's really kind of a, a shift that shouldn't be that way. Anyhow, that's fortuitous. He appeared with the head of MI6 in London, and they had this wonderful public little Q&A, and they said, the Ukrainians are incredibly bold and audacious, mind you, in going into Kursk, and they've changed the narrative, okay? Burns and the MI6 guy that changed the narrative, and this is looking really good. We don't know about the long term. Now, these are the same guys that told you, Burns, in July of last year, that Putin had already lost the war, that the Russian military had been shown to be inept for all the world to see, and you repeated that by Bill Burns on the 13th of July. You remember in Helsinki. So it's got to be one or the other. Either Putin lost 14 months ago, or Putin's not losing anymore, but he's doing. The Ukrainians are doing bold and audacious things, which really are a fool's errand in Kursk. Bottom line, Mr. President, I've been telling you for months now the Russians are capable now of moving to the Dnieper River. The Ukrainians have weakened their lines in the east, in the Donbass, by putting their best troops in Kursk. They're now surrounded. They're all going to be either killed or captured. And meanwhile, the Russians are moving twice as fast toward the Dnieper River. There are Russians on the west bank of the Dnieper River. We don't know exactly why, but there's a big army behind them. So we're thinking that you should know that within the next month, a month and a half, namely before the election, it could be that the Russians will be on the Dnieper River, and the business about Russia suffering a definitive defeat, mouthed by Mr. Bill Burns and by you, with all due respect, in Helsinki 14 months ago, will have been proven to be false. Well, bottom line here is you're getting a line from these people. They're painting lipstick on a pig. Ukraine is going down. For the sake of the Ukrainian people themselves, why let them fight to the last Ukrainian? Why not sound out Putin to see if he really is willing to talk, and if he is, let's stop the bloodshed.
Yeah, sounds good. But let me say, I'm not going to write Kamala's speech for her. It's going to come up in this debate tomorrow night. with Trump. If the thing isn't going well in the Ukraine, she's going to blame it, and that much I know. She'll blame it on his Russian ally Putin. We got a lot of stuff going now, indictments and everything. People who work for RT and anything anybody got to do with Russia. They're all, plays they're interfering with the internet. They're destroying our election, so we could turn uh, defeat into victory here. Maybe I'm just being too much the politician, but that's what I am. Uh, that even if it's not going well in Ukraine, that's because it's Trump's fault. He supports Putin. He's agent of Putin or something like that. Whatever, uh, you know. And so she can turn that to her advantage. Even if it should be going better, but we got Putin's got a fifth column here in the United States of people who are traitors to our country by supporting Putin, and we're going to round them up and throw them in jail, whatever you need, because they can't do that. They're destroying democracy. You got to
Mr. President,
save democracy by throwing them in jail. That kind of
Mr.
thing.
Mr. President, with respect to Putin, who he favors in the election, I don't know if you're aware of this,
Yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah. He says he
he,
favors.
he said he wanted you. Right.
He says he favors me over Trump. You believe that? I'm the one who. Then Trump didn't throw these people and bring charges against them for RT or whatever. He didn't go after them because he's in cahoots with them. My Justice Department is going after them. Any of them. What's that? The people's names here? That who's that? The former weapons inspector there,
Scott
Scott.
Ritter. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're getting him. We broke into his house and everything. We're getting those people. We're running them to ground. And that all does not that hurts Trump because it shows his Russian ally Putin. He's either a puppet of Putin. I don't know what his story is, or Putin got him some sex or something. I can't remember something about I don't know what he did in Moscow. They blackmail him. I can't follow all this stuff. They dare attack Hunter, and my son. They dare say because he made some honest living working with the what's that Burisma, the Ukrainian oil company. They get on his case, but here's Trump. He was in bed with Putin, almost literally. They set him up with prostitutes and everything. It's just
Well,
terrible.
Mr.
You know,
President, you should know that you're talking about Russiagate 1. That has been totally discredited. There was no P tape in a Moscow hotel. There was no Russian meddling in the election. There was no Russian hacking of the Democratic National Committee. That is available in sworn testimony from the head.
wait a minute. That's Russiagate 1. We're on
Yeah,
Russiagate 2 now. Now we're talking about our U.S. Justice Department has come up with fresh evidence that the Russians are already distorting this election and trying to ensure Trump's victory, even though you tell me that Putin favors me over him. Nah, he likes Trump because he's got something on him. It's all blackmail and everything. It's very dark. Very
Mr. President, the evidence that Merrick Garland, your Attorney General, cited were secret internal Kremlin documents that I really want to say, plus the testimony, sworn testimony of the Director of National Intelligence. What's her name? Her name is Haynes, Avril Haines. Now, Avril Haines has a pristine, pure record for telling the truth. She told you and everybody else at the end of December 2022 that the Russians had run out of ammunition or were running out of ammunition, and they had no indigenous capability to build more of what they needed in Ukraine. Now, that was a long time ago, Mr. President. It turns out that that was dead wrong. So to cite her as the fount of wisdom, as to be credible when she says Russia favors Trump over you, Well, that's a very slim read to rely on, and most people realize this. This woman has not been very good about really important things, not only things like ammunition, but when she was asked about what about this growing relationship between China and Russia, what about that? Now, Mr. President, between you and me, that's a tectonic shift in the power in international relations. What she said was, "Oh yeah, well we watch that. They have meetings. They have a lot of meetings, and they meet very frequently. Yeah, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Meetings, my God, they've had 40 meetings. When Putin meets with Xi Jinping, those meetings mean something." And what you have is an alliance which makes two against one in big league terms. And for the director of national intelligence not to realize that, that's even worse than for her to say, "Aha! I think that Trump is the favorite of Putin," even though Putin is saying, "No, no, no, I like Biden, I like you, and I like Kamala Harris," partly because of her infectious laugh.
Is that what Putin said?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he said that Kamala must be doing very well because she has a very infectious laugh. I think he may be indulging in a little mockery here, or a little trolling, as they say these days. But he's throwing, if people want to say that the Russians are creating
hey Ray, let
confusion,
me cut
well,
you off here with
he's
your
doing
humor
that
and everything, and let's
thing.
wrap this up because I got to go take a nap or something. I'm just
Okay,
tired. It's a
let
hell
me
of a time. That's. I never imagined this. If I wanted to retire, I would have done so on a high note. Maybe win the election, maybe hang in for another half year or so, year. Okay, if I can't do the job, go out with a blaze of glory and let Kamala take my place. Everything would have been great. I don't need to go out now. People think I'm bonkers. You know I'm not bonkers, right? Am I bonkers?
well, Mr. President, let
I'm
me
not
pick up.
bonkers, am I, Ray? I'm not bonkers. I got it. I
When
can
when
see.
people ask me, Mr. President, whether you're fully in charge of our conversations, I always say, like all your aides do, of course he is.
Yeah, but are you mean that you don't believe I'm fully in charge? I
Well,
fire your
let
ass
me
right
pick up.
now. I'm in charge. Don't
Let
push me,
me.
Ray. Don't push me. I'm in charge. I know what's going on. And let me tell you something. One reason maybe I tune out, the news is just damn depressing. I've been around a long time. I thought we would have Russia penned in now. I thought Netanyahu would clean up that mess in Gaza, not go after the West Bank, cut a deal, and it would all take a matter of weeks. We used to have a 6 day war. Now we got an 8 month war, and it looks like it could be an 8 year war. It's crazy.
Well, Mr. President, let me just suggest that the people that you pick to advise you, um,
You're
well,
always hacking on them.
yeah,
Give it a rest. I'm not firing anybody now. As I'm going out the door, I fired them to write memoirs, putting me out.
they're going to write them anyway.
You talk about my legacy. My legacy's in their hands. Where they'll all spread this bullshit around. That's all I got to do. And if Kamala loses, I'm finished. I'm toast. If she wins,
Mr.
okay. She wins. I don't have legal problems. I don't got this trouble with my son. He gets off. And hopefully she'll be a great president. She no dummy. She could. She's sharp, and so maybe it'll work out. But I lose. Oh, forget any legacy. Forget my. Maybe even try to put me in jail or something. Did you ever
Let
think
me
of
let me
something?
comment, Mr. President, on the
Yeah,
substance of
let's wrap
some of the
this up
things
here. So
you just mentioned.
wrap it up with these comments. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm getting real tired. You
You
know,
mentioned the
I don't
Germans.
know
You
how you
mentioned
got all this energy. You're older than I am, for God's sake.
you
How do you
mentioned
get it? Yeah.
you mentioned Germany, Mr. President. I didn't have to tell you something really earth-shattering. The oldest corporation in Germany, Volkswagen, known here as Volkswagen, right, has shut down two factories this past week. Two full factories. They can't sell their cars. Why? The Chinese have cars that costs one third of what even with tariffs and all kinds of duties and stuff like that. So the German economy is floundering like never before, and it is pretty much the linchpin of the European economy. So that's what's happening in Europe. Now, as far as China is
Hey,
concerned,
hey, Ray, I read that report. I got briefed on that before you came in today.
good.
Okay, let me just tell you, maybe you don't know. Volkswagen has plants in China. They have plants in China, and they make Volkswagens there.
That's
And
right.
they're going to be able to keep their place in the Chinese market. And if they're smart, they'll make some EVs. Nobody seems to know how to make EVs any other than the Chinese. But what I was briefed on is that Volkswagen and other German companies are double dealing. They say, well, we'll make our cars more in China, you know. And then I
That,
see the Chinese, they're going to be making their EVs in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE. They're opening plants there. So they're doing this globalization. They're doing this multinational capitalism, and we are on the short end of the stick because you know what, Ray? I back General Motors. I want more for that stuff. Why the hell can't they build an EV that can sell at a decent price? I thought they don't even make that Bolt anymore. Everybody told me that was so great. I think it was a good car, but they don't even make it. They don't know how to make it. And when they were making it, 70% was being made in Korea or someplace. What the
yeah,
hell is going on? What's
yeah.
going on with American can do? And it is a problem here, right?
Well,
Isn't there?
Volkswagen always made a really good car, Mr. President. I was talking about the German economy. And the fact that they're
Oh,
building
oh,
cars in China doesn't really help German labor one whit. And
no,
so
that's for
I was
sure.
just pointing to that as a really unprecedented thing in this long established company. Now, with respect to China, China is in this BRICS thing with Russia, now with Saudi Arabia that you mentioned before, and now Turkey wants to join. Iran
India,
is a
India, India's in there.
Indians in there, Brazil's
Yeah,
in there, South
Brazil. Yeah,
Africa, right?
yeah, yeah.
But
There's
now
about 10 other countries lined up to join.
that's right,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
Turkey, a NATO member. So, it's not much of a stretch to say, well, the dynamism is out that way.
Hey, you
And
know
with
what's really creepy? I got a briefing on that too today. What's really creepy is that Saudi Arabia is going to go into what they call the petro yuan. They're
that's right.
they're they're doing something that's really the most treacherous. I've been around politics a long time, but when you attack the American dollar, you're attacking the soul of America. When you attack, maybe I didn't put it right because that could be embarrassing. I slip it. I don't mean that we're so materialistic that the dollar's our soul. I know that's offensive to religious people, where soul is the soul. But what I mean, because like you, I had a Catholic education. I know don't equate the soul with the dollar, but you know what I mean. The dollar that defines us, that defines us. And now Saudi Arabia, they got a guy in there. I got in the briefing this morning. He's in Beijing. I forget how you say it, but he's in there now, and they say, yeah, they can trade, with the petro yen, and yen is the petro yen. Well, how do you say it? The
Yen.
Chinese currency yen, yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, they're going to do that. Russia's already doing that. They're training. India has agreed to
Mhm.
do that. What the hell is this? What's going to happen to the dollar? And you know better than anybody knows who's actually studied this. Just the dollar's been the ticket to ride for us after the World War II. We got everybody did away with gold, got everybody to take the dollar like it's the equivalent of gold, even though we can keep on printing it. Couldn't print gold. You can't print the dollar, right? But everybody looked the other way, and you take away the dollar supremacy, you can kiss our economy goodbye.
Well, Mr. President, the dollar is surely eroding The question is our attitude toward the rest of the world. Now, the dollar was supreme when we were supreme. We are no longer supreme. I hate to tell you that. Now, the Chinese are not any longer supreme, but together with the rest of BRICS, including Russia, including Saudi Arabia, Brazil, India, South Africa, uh, Egypt, the UAE, they're getting to be supreme. So the question is, why not listen to the Chinese when they say, "Let's just get along. Let's do a win-win. We haven't invaded
Hey
anybody
Ray,
for."
Ray, I know you're kind of a Putin simp, but don't tell me you're a Z simp too. I mean, what do you mean? Just get along. They're seizing those islands. They're kicking ass out of the Philippines. What? I mean, come on. They're not good actors. Nobody's good actors. We're the only good actors. And why do I have to tell the CIA that? You've been pushing that line in that agency forever. You were there for 27 years.
No,
And you've been telling us, telling the world. I see some guy came out with a book now called said the Secret Empire, or whatever the hell it's called, about the CIA, your agency. Some guys, it's out there in California, Long Beach. I didn't even know there was a Long Beach State University, but somebody showed me. He's arguing that the CIA is a big model of a secret empire, and we do nothing but screw up here and there and everything. I've had my suspicions about the CIA, but what the hell is going on? It's
well,
your
Mr.
agency. Do you see that? You know about there's a whole bunch of books now out by about you guys. You
I know
really
that
are major screw ups, aren't you?
I I know that book, Mr. President. I know that our operations department have been involved in these kinds of things. As you know, I represent the analysts, and what we're telling
Yeah,
you, for
yeah, yeah.
example,
And the turnstile, and you don't go through the turnstile. It's the CIA. It's a brand. It's a brand.
the
And it's
Chinese.
a brand. It's a brand that we have always held up that it does no wrong. Even when it does wrong, we're all prepared to lie in defense of it because that's virtue. Virtue means you lie for things that are ultimately virtuous, even if they never are in real life. I don't know if any of this is making sense. My brain, I told you I'm tired. I'm not what I used to be, but come on. You're a Jesuit, aren't you?
I was
Twist it
Jesuit
around, make
educated.
sense, learn how to do this again, right?
Say again?
Learn how to spin it. I don't know. Do Jesuits spin? What you learning for them? You
Well,
know,
I learned that the truth will set us free. And just with respect to what you just mentioned, the truth is that Tony Blinken and Jacob Sullivan have been leaning on the Filipinos to create trouble in the South China Sea. There are islands there that don't are not worth anything except to interdict traffic in that area. And the Chinese are not going to give up their claims to them. Why people would get involved in ramming ships in the South China Sea is beyond me. But the Filipinos have been encouraged and have been given lots of dough, lots of hard cash to cause this kind of trouble. So it's not like the Chinese are trying to take over the whole area. They're not trying to even take over Taiwan. They're very happy to leave it the way it is. It's just that they see us as trying to make Taiwan independent and sell all manner of arms to them to make them feel that they can really take on China,
wait,
which is
wait,
a fool's errand.
excuse me. What you're calling a fool's errand, I authorized. Don't think that Nancy Pelosi went over there without my approving it. I'm no dummy. And what we had to do is they're on course to be able to become the number one economy.
That's right.
All right. And now I know some pinko simps and everything, they say, well, hell, they got three times our population, right? And so if they become number one, they still got three times as many, more than three times, three and a half times, I'm told, people to feed and taken care of. So makes some sense that they should be, if they're going to be prosperous at all, be the biggest economy, and I guess you could say the same about India. You know, some people could say that. I could see what they're talking about, but you know, USA, without being number one, and here I'm in agreement with Trump. You're either number one or you're a loser. You're a loser, and in this world, image is everything. It's not. Who said it? Some great advertising guy said, "It's not the thing itself. It's not the thing you're selling that is the thing itself. It's the thing you're selling, not the thing itself. That's it. You know, whether it's a car or anything, it's not what actually does. It's what the big tail fins. Remember big tail fins? That's what
I do.
they
Yeah.
do for people. So that's what
Yeah.
you're selling: power, sex, and everything. So you ask about the South China Seas. It's perception. I
Yeah.
know those islands ain't worth shit. You know, what are they? You know, you anchor some boats there and everything. Yeah, you're not going to
They.
become pirates and screw up trade because they need the trade more than anybody. I know all that.
That's right.
It's
Mhm.
image though. It's
Yeah.
image. Are we number one or are we not number one? Ray,
The answer is no.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
Mr.
don't
President,
tell
I've
me
been
that.
trying
But
to
that
try to tell you that.
my legacy. Let me, and I care about it. I care what my great grandchildren think. I care. You know, mortality is not easy to handle, even if you're a serious Catholic. And mortality, and I'm thinking about that. I'm not going to be the guy that made America number two. I'm not. I just can't do that. I can't do that to my legacy. I can't do it to our country. I can't do that. And if standing up to the Chinese over those crappy islands out there, we got to do it. We
Well,
got to do
Mr.
it.
President, the way we see it,
Enough of this, Ray. Well, how are we going to go on round and round? I'll talk to you because even though I think I don't know, you probably end up being some pinko subversive, but I think it's old age. You just don't have the fight in you anymore. Do you have the fight?
I do. And I want
Let
to
me
tell
hear you
you
say. Let
that
me
when
hear
you
you.
talk,
Let me hear you say it. USA, USA. Come on, let me hear you say it.
Mr. President, I'd
You were
like
in
to
the
say
army. You spent your whole life in the service, even before the CIA, right? You
I did.
enlisted, right? You went in there,
I did.
right? Save
Yeah.
America. You
And
don't can't say that.
I've,
USA, USA. Why
I've
not?
learned a lot. I've learned a lot, Mr. President. And one thing I
Uh,
learned is that when you said 2 months into your tenure that China aspires to be the most powerful economic and military country in the world, and that's not going to happen on my watch, I said to myself, why not? Are the Chinese expansionists? Are they going to seize other countries? There's no evidence of that for 3 millennia. And so I said to myself, somebody needs to disabuse this new president of the notion that he's got to fight the Chinese. The Chinese are not enemy number one, except in our Department of Defense documents. Okay, we need to learn to get along, and if we don't learn to get along, well, it's going to be too late to get along with most of the rest of the world who don't see the things that you just elucidated, don't think we're number one. We used to be, but that's not the case anymore. And if I can leave you with that thought, whether you accept it or not, that's where we're coming from.
okay. What is America if it's not number one? No, don't answer. Don't answer.
Okay.
But you've been in this country a long time. You've met the people. I had to meet a lot of them to get votes. Can America handle the idea of being uh, anything other but number one? I'm
Doesn't
not
have a
talking about
choice.
just being. It's all packaging, Ray. It's all packaging. You're number one if you sell yourself as number one. Think about that. It's all packaging, and you don't want to go along with the packaging. But let's leave it at that. You're not in the packaging business. I respect that. I respect that about you. I do. Look, Ray, just tell that kid to turn the tape thing off. Every guy keep forgetting these things that tape. You tell him to turn. Where is he? Went to sleep or something? That kid.
Mr. President, one last comment, which is really inappropriate because it has to do with domestic politics. My guess is that if Trump runs on a no more war, no more war policy, then the Democrats are in trouble.
He's
And
not going to do that. I'll tell you, Ray, have you listened to these Republicans in the Senate and in the House? You talk about warmongers. These
yeah,
guys are
but this is all
maniacs. That, wait a minute. They make it easy for us. You got that Tom Cotton, you got Mark Rubio, you got Cruz. These guys, they want to kill everybody. They
well,
threatened. Did you see what you see what they said about the UN court? They threatened. What the hell is that guy? The judge, who's Khan, his name is, right? He's the judge, the
right.
head of the ICA. Said if they bring anything against Netanyahu or Israel, he said they're going to lock him up. They're going to destroy him.
Yeah.
That's what they told him. They said, "You watch your ass. We're going to get you." You know, imagine now, I don't think Democrats are ever going to talk like that, you know, but even in our heart of hearts, we don't want to bring that up because, I mean, well, you could forget about international law, right? If you could just threaten these judges that they don't see it your way. But that's what they do. So, Trump, you know what? Trump is considered a soft headed liberal to most of those Republicans in the Congress. Have you ever met those guys? They think Trump is going to sell them out. You know, even on that birth control abortion thing, they think Trump is going to sell them out. So he has got a harder group to convince. He's got to play really tough and be tough when he gets in office, or he loses those people. You know, they're maniacs. They're the Gestapo. If you talk about it, read their statements, what they made, and then you'll know why we got to win. You got to know. Stop picking on us, back us. You know, Kamala. What's the other guy's name? Waltz, right?
Waltz.
Waltz, yeah. Kamala Waltz, yeah. Yeah. Waltz with Kamala, yeah. All right. That's how I remember it. Waltz with Kamala. All right. Getting tired. I got to take a nap, Ray. I don't know how you keep going. Damn it. I don't know how you keep going. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
See ya, hopefully, if I'm still alive. I don't know.